Hello everyone, it's Cassie and welcome back for another Trinity Stamps video. Today we're going to be making a double interactive card with some of the new goodies. We're going to be using our SnGNOMEman from Trinity. I love this cute little stamp. We also have the matching dies. And then I'm going to be focusing in on these two dies. These are the emergency card kit dies, both from Sassy's LLC for Trinity Stamps, and they are just fabulous. One is the emergency card kit number 1 and the other one is number 2. And they come with sentiments that you can cut out. And this is just a sampling of them. You can cut these out with your paper cutter, or you can use the dies that come in these die sets. So they're fabulous, and I love how many options there are. This is, like I said, just a little bit of them that are available. All right, so let's go ahead and get started on our card. We are going to be using elements from both of those dies, and I think what we come up with is a lot of fun. Like I said, it's going to be a double pop-up. All right, for my background, I want to do some simple stamping. And so I'm going to start with the tree from the SnGNOMEman set. And I'm going to put that into my MISTI. And I do want to do a little bit of masking because this background is supposed to be obviously a background and fairly subtle. So I'm going to stamp each of the trees with some of this green ink that I have. Any green ink will do. And I'll stamp that a couple times. And then I'm going to bring in some of my masking paper that I have. And we'll stamp out the tree onto that. And then I do need to do a little bit of trimming. I'm not going to go all the way around this tree. I'm going to just cut right along the line, or on the line, almost all the way around the tree. I don't do all the tree because I don't plan to save this mask. And I don't need all of it. So why waste the effort? Exactly. So we're just going to peel off that release paper, and then with any masking paper, we can stick that down on top, and you can use it as many times as it will last. So it's not super sticky, it's repositionable, which is great. So we're going to move our piece of paper around, and using that MISTI door, we can kind of gauge where exactly I want that tree. Moving the paper up, down, to the left and the right, and then I will just keep stamping and moving my paper along. The end result is that tree all across the bottom of some of this white cardstock, and this measured 5.5 inches by 8.5 inches. I'm not going to be using the whole thing. I'm actually going to be die cutting out of it, just the pieces that I think I need or that look the best. And so, yeah, we'll keep doing that. I did stamp and color all of my images previously, and that was simply because I had planned to do other things with those images, but since they were already stamped and colored, which is one of the fun things about just stamping as many of the images as you want and coloring them and then saving them for another day, which is what I did, you can do that. So here we have that background. I'm going to bring in dies from the actually I think these are both from number 2. This is from the Emergency Card Essentials number 2, the diamond, and also that rectangle that we have. Those are the two pieces that I decided to pull out. I did die cut out the bigger layering piece out of some blue cardstock, and then I have my card base out of blue cardstock as well. I'm bringing in a blending buddy along with some light blue ink to match that blue paper that I have, and I'm just going to add some of that to the sky just to make it so that it's not so stark white, and it'll blend into that blue a little bit because, again, this is just a background. So I'm not going to color those trees either. You could if you wanted to, but like I said, I want those to be fairly subtle in the background. All right, clean up my mess, and then we're going to color a couple of trees. So like I said before, I did have a few of my images already stamped and colored, so we don't want to waste those. We're going to use those, and they're just so adorable. I love that we have little gnomes that are snowmen. I'm bringing in another one of those dies and trying to decide which one of the sentiments that I want. And so I'll tack that down with a little bit of mint tape, and I can run that through my die cutting machine. There's a layering one you can do. I could have cut a smaller rectangle. I did the biggest rectangle, and then I'm going to use the blue scallop for that background of our sentiment. And then it's going to kind of layer up like this on the front. But before we get to doing any of that, any of the assembly, I'm going to color my trees. And I did stamp those using some Blackout ink by Ink on 3, and then I'm coloring those up with my alcohol markers. I stamped that onto some blending cardstock. Good cardstock that is good for alcohol marker coloring so that it won't bleed too much. And I'm just doing a base of that lighter color, and then I'll come in with some of that darker color and put a little bit of shadowing underneath the branches, and then I'll blend that out later. We're also going to use that darker color on the trees in the background. These are going to be my pop-outs. I want to build a scene on the inside of the card as well. I love building scenes. Scene building is probably one of my favorite parts of card making. And you know what? I think that probably changes weekly. I love different things, different days of the week for sure. But scene building is usually the top of the list. If there is a stamp set that looks like you could make a scene out of it, I'm definitely going to probably try. That's where my mind always tends to go anyway. We'll bring in some blue, a little bit of blue that matched that our base, and we're just going to put a little bit of shadowing underneath so that the snow doesn't look completely white either. I'll put some liquid glue on the background that I have, and this is the reason I use liquid glue. You will see here in a second. I'm gluing down my white diamond to its layering piece, and then I'm looking at how that's going to go on top of the card, and it is not straight. So I'm going to peel that off, and it won't ruin anything. It peels a little bit of the paper off of my white piece, but it's not a big deal. You're not going to be able to tell in the end. I was just having a hard time eyeballing that to make it straight. I did bring in a T-ruler. That helped a bit, but I was really struggling. But this is, again, why I use liquid glue. If I had tried to put that down with double-sided adhesive just for this piece, yeah, I would have ruined the whole piece. So I focus on the liquid glue most of the time. Okay, now we can glue down our diamond piece. And that just kind of makes it a little bit of spotlighting. You could completely skip that piece, but I like the spotlighting that it does. We'll glue down our sentiment to its layering piece, and then I'm going to bring in some of those adhesive foam strips that Trinity carries, and we'll put those on our sentiment, and we're also going to put those on our little snowman. And then I can peel off the release paper and we can put our sentiment down, and then I'll peel off the release paper of our snowman and we can put him down also. And that almost finishes the outside. We'll embellish it later. But now I want to focus on the two little pop-outs. I cut out, obviously, some more diamonds. I did 2 of the white ones in the small diamond, and then I did 2 layering blue diamonds. And we'll just glue down our pieces to their layering piece. And then I'll bring in those trees. I glued down the first tree, and then I realized that's pretty stark white on there as well. So let's bring in more of that blue ink, and we can blend that all across the top. And it just blends right into that blue cardstock. You really can't tell, which is kind of nice. Typically, I would have done that before I put my piece down, but since it was already down, we work with what we got. And then I can glue the other tree down to the other diamond. And if you haven't seen this die before, you might be wondering how this works. But there is a die in number 2 that cuts out a rectangle, and it has some score lines. And I'm going to attach those to the top. You're going to fold in 2 of the diamonds, make it look like it has an opening at the top, and then I'll put glue on both of those flaps, and then we can attach that down to the top part of our card, or at least this is a side part, I guess. And you want to line up your middle score with the middle score of your base. And I use liquid glue for this also because that gives you, again, a little bit of wiggle room. And then let that dry, and you can move your mechanism a bunch. So once again, doing that on this other side. Pardon my head. And then again, lining everything up so that the score line, the middle score line lines up with the middle score line of your card. And so then we have these 2 little flaps on the inside. Pretty cool. I worked that a bunch of times. You don't see me do that, but I do. And then I want to attach these diamonds to the inside. I'm only going to put glue on one of those triangle flaps, and then we can attach down our diamond, just lining that up with our flap on the inside. And then we can do that with the other one. These won't hit each other. That actually works pretty perfectly. And this is the beginning of our little scene on the inside. I love how that looks. How fun. Very unassuming card until you open it up. And then I did bring in our Embossed Edge Hills and Slopes from Trinity, and I cut out one of the slopes out of some white. I'm putting glue on the inside of the card and also on the slope, mostly because I didn't know exactly how much or how big I wanted that to be. So any of the excess I can cut off with my scissors and also my guillotine trimmer. I don't trust myself completely to cut that much off the bottom edge without the guillotine trimmer. I can do the sides, that's fine, but getting the bottom completely straight and not cutting some of that base would be difficult. So I bring my guillotine trimmer in, and then we have our little snow hill there, and then I can add our last two little pieces that I've already stamped and die cut and colored onto the bottom. So cute. We have a little scene, and then I did use another one of those dies. That was from the Emergency Card Essentials #1, and then I die cut out another one of those sentiments for the inside. And then of course I have to embellish, so I brought in some ruby sparkle spots, and I put a few of those around the outside, and I think that makes our little snowman pop a little bit more, brings in some of that red. And then that's going to finish off our little double pop-out card. I love how I have a scene on the outside and also on the inside. How cute is that? You could even add like a gift card instead if you wanted. That would be super fun. So if you like this card, please be sure to hit that like button. Definitely consider subscribing if you haven't already done so. And be sure to check out all that Trinity Stamps has going on over on their blog, Facebook page, and Instagram for more crafty inspiration. Thanks for stopping by, and we'll see you soon.